This is K9WLW with part 2 of the cross-moding from C4FM. In this second video, I'm going to demonstrate the cross-moding from an FT2D C4FM Yaesu radio over to the D-Star network and also a brief one for DMR. I do have an earlier video that's specialized in the cross-moding from Fusion to DMR that should go into great detail on how you can change talk groups and so forth from the FT2D. So I'm just going to briefly touch on that. I broke this video into two parts because I guess I have to say I'm a little let down or disappointed in the features of the Openspot3 when it comes to cross-moding from the C4FM radio. Specifically in the use of the Wires X button. In the previous video, I'm able to navigate very freely from NXDN to P25 network to the YSF and FCS reflectors in the C4FM world very easily. A little quirkiness with NXDN in particular, but it does work if you know how to get through the quirks. And P25 does work if you remember the voice wide mode being essential. That being said, I am struggling to find a very good navigational method with the D-Star mode and the DMR mode pertaining the Wires X button. The Wires X button seems like it is missing an element or two in how it works with the Openspot 3 when it comes to trying to navigate D-Star or navigate some DMR networks, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now that being said, in order to cross mode to D-Star, it seems like that a lot of what we're going to do is going to rely on the dashboard and the menu. And again, like in the earlier video, we always start with C4FM since that's the radio of choice for this video. And we're going to go into the world of D-Star. Now, of course, there's two D-Star worlds listed here. Three, actually. REF, XRF reflectors. There's also the DCS and XLX reflectors. And then there's the D-Star gateway, which is designed for connecting your hotspot to a remote D-Star repeater. I've done some videos showing the functionality of how to connect on D-Star to a remote repeater, particularly from a D-Star radio. And I don't know if that's really going to be a feature that people are going to get into from a Fusion radio. They're probably going to want to just basically get to the reflectors and use that. I think that's more of a D-Star specialty, so that's why I had a video dedicated to connecting to remote repeaters from a D-Star radio with the Openspot and also with Pi-Star. So I'll focus on the D-Star reflectors and also how to get to brandmeister and also the TGIF network in DMR. We're going to start with the REF XRF connector. And it's going to load. The last reflector I had loaded up was reflector 29 Charlie. And if I hit the connect button,
Openspot connected to REF029 Charlie.
So with the menu, it's fairly easy, but the bottom line is to move around, you're almost reliant on the menu. I will give you an example. Let's say I want to change reflectors. Well, I was hoping the Wires X button would come to the rescue. It kind of does, only a little, and it doesn't do a great job of it. I'll give you an example of what I mean. When I hit the wires X button with a quick press, it does indicate that I'm on REF 029 Charlie, and I was very encouraged by that display. Now, the problem, and I can't figure out why this is, and if anyone knows or has an answer to this dilemma, I'd be very pleased to learn if I'm doing something wrong. Okay, I stored a couple of D-Star reflector links in this C5 section. When I tap on it, it will not let me in. It says no matches. And I thought that would have been perfect for me to just QSY from one reflector to the other. It doesn't. It'll let me store them there, but then it won't let me get them and connect to them, which is frustrating. I don't know if there's going to be a firmware update that addresses that. It'd be a very cool feature to get to work with the Wires X button. I would hope that they do something, but I don't know. If anyone knows anything about that, please comment below or email me at cq2meters@yahoo.com, because I think this would add a lot to the Openspot3's value for the C4FM radio user in particular. Okay, well anyway, if I go and search for all, I'm connected to REF 29 Charlie. And it gives me a list of reflectors, but you'll notice they have reflector numbers but no modules, which is very odd. And anyone who's experienced with reflectors in D-Star know that they have A, B, C, D, E module for echo if it's an REF reflector, and then some of the XRFs and DCS and XLX reflectors might even have 26 modules all the way to Z. So it does give me a menu of reflectors, but there's no module. So I said, well, that's odd. Will it connect to anything? Well, I come to find out if I'm connected to a Charlie module like I am now, and I select a numerical. Now let's say I want to go further down the list. I run out at like 19 there. I hit the down arrow and it'll load the next batch. And it continues. Okay, well let me try reflector 23. Again, I'm on 29 Charlie now. I'm just hitting reflector 23. It doesn't give a module indication. So what does it do? Let's see what happens.
Openspot connected to REF023 Charlie.
Okay, it connected to 23 and it did indicate and show the 23 Charlie module. So after doing some experimenting, I come to realize if I'm on a Charlie module and I connect to another reflector, it's always going to go to the Charlie module. If I go to the dashboard of the Openspot and change to another module, let's just say I'm going to connect to Delta. And then I hit save.
Openspot connected to REF029 Delta.
Okay, it announces and it shows the Delta on the display in the Wires X mode, which is fine. However, I had to use a dashboard in order to do that. So you can change reflector number, but you're stuck in the same module you just left. I'll give you an example again. I will go to search. I will search all. And let's just go to reflector 1. Again, no module on the display. I tap here.
Openspot connected to REF001 Delta.
Okay, so it connects to the same module of the new reflector. So if you're in a Delta, you hit the new reflector number, it connects, but it stays in the Delta module if you left a Delta module. I don't know. Why can't they go to the extra yard and let you pick the module? I don't know. I can't use the store my favorites feature with the wires X. So again, it kind of forces you to have to rely on the dashboard, which if you're sitting around at home and you've got a tablet or a smartphone at your disposal, not horrible. But what if you're mobile? How would you like to go from, say, 1 Alpha to 30 Charlie? You'd have to use the dashboard. The Wires X feature doesn't work. Anyway, that's a big shortcoming, I think, and I'm hoping Openspot or Shark RF Group does something to address that, because I see that they're approaching usefulness there, but they're just not closing the deal. I mean, again, it would make the Wires X feature a masterful tool for changing reflectors in D-Star. Again, in the YSF world, the FCS reflector world, even the NXDN reflector world and the P25 reflector world works like a charm. I can transition from one network to another very quickly. I demonstrated that in the last video. No real complaints there. This is why I saved this video for last, because I really wanted to focus on what you can and what is not so easy to do. And I'm sure you can tell by my tone and my demeanor that I'm not liking the C4FM cross-moding as much as I do with the DMR radio or with the D-Star radio. In those videos, I can definitely feel a lot more enthusiasm. Although they had different functionality, they both did a very good job of cross-moding, and I thought that was very cool factor was just fantastic from a DMR radio and from a D-Star radio. The C4FM experience with Openspot's platform is running a little short, so I'm just calling as I see it, and if there is something I'm missing and somebody can spell it out for me, I will be happy to update this video, replace it with a correction. I'm just not finding a way that it's very easy to use without having to use the dashboard as a cheat. Again, maybe I'm belly aching. Maybe people think I'm pushing it, but again, it feels like they're getting close. It's just no cigar. So maybe it's just frustration, because I think they can do it. And if I'm missing it somehow, please let me know. I've even looked in the connectors page on the manual, and I looked up REF XRF, for example. Okay, and it goes into detail about what codes you can use from the D-Star radio to connect to reflectors and all that, which I'm sure most of you D-Star people are already familiar with. It gets into how to connect to FCS and YSF and NXDN. It does go into something called the DTMF method. Now, I am not a fan of DTMF on a lot of these radios today. You do not have DTMF touch tone buttons on the face of radios. FT2D is no exception. So I said, okay, let me try the DTMF method. It says if I hit star 1C or star 01C or star 001C, it should connect me to 1 Charlie. So let's give it a try. Now, I'm going to have to pause the video because I need to use 2 hands to do it. Another reason I'm not a fan of DTMF. For me to do it, I have to hit push to talk. Then I have to hit a button here. Then I have to start hitting buttons on the screen. And it's hard to hold a camera and do that. So I have to pause the video, and I'm going to try the star 1C, the star 01C, and the star 001C and see if it connects me to 1 Charlie. I'll pause the video and let you know what my results are. Okay, I'm back. I have tried the star 1C, the star 01C, and the star 001C. No response. It just gives me a confirmation beep that it's received my transmission, but the hotspot does not move. I even tried it with the XRF codes, B8B, B08B, and B008B. Didn't work. It says there's DTMF codes that work for C5B or C502, C0502. Didn't work. I even tried the C9D, the C904, or the C904. We'll change the active connector to the DCS XLX connector and connect to XLX009 module D as it says here in the instructions. And none of these seem to get any response. So the DTMF method does not seem to be working from this radio. I can hear the tones as I'm dialing them, as I'm holding the push to talk. So it's not like, maybe the tones aren't working. For whatever reason, the open spot is not moving. So if the Wires X feature is limitedly functional and the DTMF method is entirely non-functional, the only truly functional method of QSYing around the D-star reflectors is to use the dashboard of the hotspot. I mean, that's the bottom line here. So will it work in D-star and cross mode? Yes. Are you going to have the greatest of functionality from the C4FM radio as it is currently working the way I've gone with this? I don't know. I'm not overly thrilled with it. Maybe other people with a C4FM radio would say, hey, that's good enough for me. I can use the dashboard. I'm not a fan of that because what if I'm mobile? What if I'm a pedestrian? Do I want to pull out a tablet or a cell phone and control where I'm going? What if this is the only radio in my possession and I want to go to D-Star and move around? I'm going to be kind of limited. I don't need that dashboard if I have a D-Star radio. I don't need that dashboard if I'm cross-moding from the DMR radio. So that being said, I don't know. Disappointed. Anyway, another thing is, in order to work on the D-Star network, I needed to mention that you have to have your register for your D-Star, your call sign with D-Star. I'm not an expert on registration. You may want to log into a Facebook users group known as D-Star Users, and that is the perfect place to ask the question on how to register for D-Star if you have not already done so. That being said, assuming you are, and you have a C4FM radio, another caveat. Many people with the Yaesu System Fusion radios use their call sign, and there's a few extra characters after their call sign that they load up with either their first name or maybe the model of radio like FT2D or something like that. If you want to use the C4FM radio and cross mode to D-Star with the open spot, you have to get rid of those extra characters. The D-Star network will not recognize that as a valid call sign when you key up, and it will block your signal from going out over the internet gateway. You will think you're being heard by everyone on the reflector because you're hearing them, but they're not going to hear you. So if you have your call sign as K1ABC/Bob, you want to get rid of the /Bob and just have the call sign. That should allow you to get over the internet gateway on the D-Star network. Unfortunately, leaving anything beyond your call sign will block your signal. Okay, well that's pretty much it for the D-Star end of things from this radio. Now I'm going to go over to the world of DMR. And the way I do that is I go to the quick start menu. Sorry, I had to blow some dust off there. And the mode of radio, of course, is still C4FM. This time I'm going to go to brandmeister, so I'm going to connect to brandmeister. And I normally use brandmeister 3102 here in the United States. You can use whatever server you want. And then I hit the connect button and I'll connect to the server.
Openspot connected to brandmeister 3102. Linked static talk groups 2, 3, 5, and 2, 7, 2, and 3, 0, 2, and
Okay.
5, 0, 5, and 5, 3, 0, and 6, 5.
Apparently
5,
I have
and
all my
2,
static
3,
talk groups
5,
loaded. Let me
0,
change
and
that.
2, 3, 5, 1, and 2,
My
3,
apologies.
5, 2, and 3, 5, 3, and 2, 3, 5, 4, and 2, 3, 5, 5. Openspot connected to brandmeister 3102.
Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to turn off the voice announcements for the static talk groups. That's in the settings page. I need to go to the settings page. It's under DMR. I think it's under voice announcements. There we go. I forgot to check mark shorten brandmeister announcements. If you have a bunch of static talk groups, it'll announce your connection to the server. And if you have any dynamic or static talk groups, it will read them off one by one. And I had over 100 statics. So I'm going to change that to shortened brandmeister announcements, so that way it won't announce all that stuff. And then I'm going to just hit save.
Openspot connected to brandmeister 3102.
Okay, sorry about the diversion. Okay, so now I am back in brandmeister 3102. Now I'm not connected to a talk group. And also the C4FM radio is not really geared for keying up talk groups. It doesn't key up talk group numbers like a DMR radio. You load in a talk group number, you hit push to talk, and it transmits that and connects your hotspot to the talk group. C4FM is not designed that way, so we have to cheat a little bit in order to key up a talk group. Well, Openspot has a tools page which you can use where you can randomly dial up a talk group. So let's say I want to go to 91. I just erase that in the destination ID. I can type in 91. It decodes that as worldwide, and if I hit the call button, I am connected to 91. Now, it doesn't announce a connection to a talk group, so you verify that by going to the connectors page, and it'll say brandmeister link dynamic talk groups 91 is listed. So now that is a visual. You don't hear linking to talk group 91 when you go in and out of DMR talk groups. So 91 is there. Going back to the tools page, I can get out of the talk group even if there's traffic. Now this is a cool thing with the group call 4000 button. Tap that.
Not linked.
It'll disconnect you from the talk group and put
Not
you
linked.
just back on the server. You verify it. Status page. Brandmeister link dynamic talk groups. Nothing. A dash. So there's no talk group. If I want to go to 3100, I can go to the tools page. 3100. Brandmeister US nationwide. Hit the call button. And again,
It is the first.
okay, the only reason I knew I connected is that I can hear it. It's traffic.
I've got
So again, I can join in just by hitting the push to talk.
Get going and
Nice thing about the group call 4000 button is even in the middle of a key down, you can get out of a talk group. Nice feature.
Go ahead.
I'll do it during the next transmission.
Hey, Roddy, I heard you say it is the first one.
I'm going to hit the button right now.
Real fine.
See how it cut him off? Cut him right off.
Not linked.
Mid-transmission, disconnected, not linked. So I can escape out of a busy talk group without having to wait for them to unkey. The other way to key into talk groups with the C4FM radio is with DTMF commands. Yes, the dreaded DTMF, the two-hand thing. I'm not going to get into that in this video because I have another video that I recorded a couple months ago focusing on how to use the C4FM radio to cross-moding to DMR. Again, I'm going to focus on the tools cheat page, I call it. It's a pretty cool page, and it allows you to do what you want to do on DMR, and I like it. It's a nice addition. I wish Pi-Star had something as cool as that for getting in and out of dynamic talk groups, but they don't quite do it. But that's okay. Not to shoot down Pi-Star. They're cool in many other ways. Now, I guess I wanted to show another DMR network known as the TGIF network. All right, the difference between, or how you get from Brandmeister and then to transition over to TGIF is the Brandmeister servers are all under this button that says Homebrew. Other networks, non-Brandmeister networks, fall under this category of MMDVM. When you go to MMDVM, you'll see mine automatically loads up TGIF because I use it a lot. But there's other networks that you can connect to. Some of them I don't know the first thing about. There's the KC3 OLQRM network. There's Ozark Digital. Then there's all this other stuff. I think it's related to either DMR Plus or something else. I don't even know the first thing about those networks. I hope someday to learn about them and know how to use them and what goes on there. I couldn't tell you. I'm familiar with TGIF and Brandmeister, and that's pretty much it for my DMR experience. But anyway, TGIF, I'm loading up here. And because you're making a change, you have to go down to the bottom and hit save. So I hit save.
Openspot connected to MMDVM server.
And here it says the preferred DMR talk group list is not the TGIF network. Do you want to change this? I'm going to say no because I usually use Brandmeister and I don't need to make this the default. So I'll hit cancel. And that way when I transition back to Brandmeister, it won't give me that pop-up. I only deal with that pop-up when I switch over to TGIF. Now, TGIF has its own talk groups, and it's another network, and I might do a video on that network just to kind of give some familiarity to a lot of you out there that might be Brandmeister and never really played with TGIF. It's a pretty interesting DMR network. Well, here's a cool feature of that network. They have a talk group known as 777. Now, you're not going to be able to use this to talk, but if you do a quick call or a call to 777, 777 is nothing but a scan of all the active QSOs going on across the entire TGIF network. So if you'd just like to hear traffic,
Yeah, the QSL, I crushed it in Corrigan just a second ago, so I switched it over. It's a little crackly when you come over the mountain here. But,
anyway, to get out of that, and it's hard to get out of it because it's busy when you do a scan of the entire network, group call 4000 shuts it right down. Okay, you can dial a talk group and connect to it. Of course, you'll have to get familiar with their talk group numbers. 31665, I think, is the TGIF main room. I'm going to hit the call button. Let's see if there's any activity there. Doesn't appear like anyone's talking. Status page. Well, there's somebody. The status page is showing TGIF network. And I'm trying to see if it shows I'm connected. Let me hit a push to talk. Okay, it shows I'm connected to 31665. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Hey, have y'all heard about Elon Musk's invitation to apply for...
And to get out of the talk group, I go back to the tools page, group call 4000. Out. Now, TGIF doesn't announce disconnected like Brandmeister, but it does disconnect you from any talk groups. So now that I hit group call 4000, I'm not going to hear any traffic. Again, you should be able to QSY your way around these talk groups with the DTMF commands. I have another video that kind of shows how to do that. I'm not going to get into that in this video. So there's limited functionality to move around from the radio. Total functionality does still rely on the dashboard with DMR cross-moding. But that pretty much wraps up the remaining 2 modes of cross-mode with the C4FM radio. Anyway, if anyone has any pointers or any information on getting that Wires X functionality in D-Star to work, or for me to select DMR servers, please reach out to me. I'd like to see that there's a way to get that done. I just could not figure it out, and I tried all day long. Anyway, please leave your comments below or feel free to email me at cq2meters@yahoo.com. 73s from K9WLW.